2025's Delanco Township Committee meeting located here at the Municipal Building. Can I have a roll call, please?
Mr. Bartlett.
Here.
Mrs. Patrick. Here. Mr. McFadden.
Here.
Mr. Olet.
Here.
Ms. Seuss.
Here. Also present, Mr. Schwab, our Township Administrator, Mr. Fox, our Township Engineer, Mr. Heinhold, our Solicitor, Mrs. Lohr, our Municipal Clerk, Mrs. Russell, our Deputy Municipal Clerk, Mr. Fenimore, our Superintendent, Mr. Warren, our Police Chief. Please rise for the flag salute.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Sunshine and live stream statement, please.
Please be advised that proper notice of this meeting has been given in compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act in the following manner. Written notice has been mailed to the Burlington County Times and Courier Post and published in the December 30th, 2024 editions, and written notice has been posted on the official bulletin board of the Township of Delanco at least 48 hours prior to the meeting. This meeting of the Delanco Township Committee may be transmitted via live stream on YouTube video. The streaming of the meeting is not intended to be relied upon as formal public access under the Open Public Meetings Act, and if the technology is disrupted for any reason, the township meeting will proceed in person as an official meeting in accord with the official notice.
Yes, if you could take a moment to please silence your cell phones, put them on vibrate. I'm going to read the rules governing the public comment period now. Pursuant to the provisions of the Open Public Meetings Act, NJSA 10-4-12, the Delanco Township Committee is entitled to permit, regulate, or prohibit public participation in its meetings. Public participation and comments shall be governed by the following rules to maintain order and prevent disruption of the meeting. Each speaker will have a maximum of 5 minutes to speak and should limit comments to the matter at hand. The speaker will be directed to conclude their remarks once the speaker's time has expired. No time may be yielded to a speaker by another speaker. Groups are asked to select a spokesperson to speak on their behalf. Speakers will address the Township Committee from the podium and are asked to begin their remarks with their name and address for the record. Township Committee members are not obligated to answer impromptu questions or address remarks from the members of the public during the public comment period. Speakers should expect the Township Committee to refrain from engaging in a dialogue except to the extent necessary to clarify the speaker's comment. The allotted time from speaking from the podium is a method to address the Township Committee during the public comment period. The Township Committee will not entertain questions or comments called out from the audience. Speakers and members of the public should at all times maintain proper decorum and shall make their comments in a civil manner. Personal attacks, obscenity, derogatory, or slanderous remarks will not be tolerated. Meeting is now open to the public for comments and questions. This is session 1. Please come to the podium and state your name and address.
My name is Charlie Tynan. I live at 2901 Burlington Avenue, Delanco, New Jersey. I just wanted to comment that I feel that the town's going downhill. We have property behind us, which is a rental, which in turn, I was an exterminator for 43 years and watched the cockroaches crawl across the ground to my house or to my neighbor's house and the neighbor after that. No one does anything about it. They leave it alone. They had cars on the property. They just take a tag off one vehicle, put it on another vehicle, and drive away. We called Easter about dirt bikes running up and down the street. The officer showed up, told him to put helmets on. Turned around, I called again and said, I own a motorcycle. It's not registered. Is it right for me to ride? Oh, no, you can't do that. I don't understand what's going on. We feel like we're the forgotten in the town. It's not just me. It's my neighbors. We have a guy with the white Charger who thinks it's a drag strip with open pipes. No one does anything. I'm tired of it. Then I have the repair shop across the street. Right? Where's the code enforcer? They have 6 vehicles there, no tags. A van there with no doors. A smashed up vehicle, no doors. And then I get to look at a dumpster every morning when I open up my front door. You know, nothing gets done at end of town. You come in this end, it's beautiful, gazebo, this, that, everything else. You may want to just take a look at the other end of town and make it just as nice. I'm tired. John's crew does a beautiful job, but I end up picking up the trash from the neighbors because they use the trash. The contractor who owns the property brings his contract trash there. And I know that you passed the thing where if homeowners do repairs, you have to turn around and get rid of it yourself. Here's a gentleman who's been doing it. They pull up in a black truck, drop off 11, 12 bags. And I reported it, but nothing got done. I called the police about the motorcycles. They showed up once. Sunday, they had a gentleman with a little kid on the front of the bike, motorcycle, running up and down the street in flip-flops. They drove down to the ball field. I called the police. No one showed. You know, I would really appreciate if somebody does something at our end of town. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. The motorcycles that you're talking about, are they the small little dirt bikes you're talking about?
They're 90 course dirt bikes.
Under
No,
50 cc's?
No, what?
Are they under 50 cc's?
90 cc.
90 cc's, because we just talked about that,
They had a
Chief,
mini
right?
bike at the same time with a 5-year-old running down the street the wrong way. And not just me called, there were 7 other people on my street that called the police and no one showed up.
Did you call 911 or the non-emergency number?
For non-emergency.
Okay,
And no one showed up, so, you know, you get tired.
sure, understand.
Did you call about the house?
I called the Board of Health, no one showed up. I called the code enforcer, he actually came, I came to the code enforcer, he treated me like I was a criminal, got in my face, and said, when he gets a chance, he'll do it,
Wow,
all right?
okay. What's the address there, Charlie?
400 West Avenue.
Okay,
They have, I can't tell you who lives there because it's constant traffic, people in and out.
okay,
The car is registered, the white Charger is registered in Pennsylvania, but he lives there. I thought when you live in Jersey, you have to transfer things over to Jersey.
right,
He's been there for almost a year.
okay. We'll look into 400 West for sure.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yeah, that's fine. Public comment.
Hi, Christine Holland, 319 Delaware Avenue. I'm here to voice my opposition to holding a referendum vote during the special election rather than waiting until the general election. At the presentation held last month, reasons given in opposition of the right to vote on this matter included the expense associated with holding a special election. I believe the figure was around 70 to 100,000. To this point, I'd say that that is a fraction of the overall impact the taxpayers would bear over the term of the life of the bond. But regardless, I'd add that in the vein of what was called a no-brainer with respect to the parcel of land, the no-brainer would truly be to just wait until the November election rather than holding this special election to do so. I do note it is a real estate contract and time is of the essence. We all know that. However, in this case, where we have pretty turbulent economic climate, particularly where warehousing space is concerned, not only is the property not actively for sale, some remediation work needs to go into it at not insignificant expense before the property could even change hands. And there's certainly no shortage of existing warehouses available without interested buyers in our town as well as within our zip code. So I do have a tough time believing that where time is of the essence, any party besides Delanco Township would actually find themselves across the table making settlement before the end of the year. Additionally, special elections, especially one held midsummer, would typically result in much lower turnout. It should excite you that so many people rallied to be heard. They want to vote, and the best opportunity to get representative feedback from your constituents is to hold the vote during the already scheduled general election. Here's where I didn't have time to get my notes in order, so this will get a little sketchier. Insisting on the special election gives the more cynical among our townspeople the feeling that the committee may be going through this motion begrudgingly, counting on low turnout to skew results in favor of the purchase. Ultimately, if the committee does choose to move forward with the special election rather than a general election timeline, I'm still very proud of the work that those of us that circulated the petitions, went to neighbors, friends, new acquaintances to raise awareness, have tough conversations, and ensure that democracy was being upheld. Where we're in unprecedented times, people are fed up with working full work weeks and being unable to make their paychecks last to the end of the month. This purchase is a prime example of government not reading the room. Those of us deciding where in our budgets we can cut back just to break even, when the only thing that's changed of late is inflation, corporate greed, and crooked politicians run amok federally, not within this room. This is one expense your taxpayers, we the people, have expressed a desire to have a say in. Do the right thing and allow the referendum to be held during the general election when the full voice of the community can be heard. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. As a note, hold on a minute. We literally are under contract until July 1st. So we can't go back to Criterion and say, hey, listen, we need another 6 months, because by the time we would settle, it would be December. So at that point, they're gonna want money, because now they're losing revenue, right? Their tenants are out, they have property taxes. So either way, we're gonna accrue additional costs, whether it's through a special election or them wanting additional money. There would be an additional cost for the additional time frame. Mr. Heinel, did you want to elaborate on that at all?
I'll just add that my conversations with the council for Criterion have been preliminary at this point to inform them of what has happened relative to the petition process. And there seems to be some general understanding. We still have to negotiate an extension because the special election runs past the real estate date. The mere fact that there is a special election may be a foregone conclusion if Criterion does not agree. I have no sense that they are willing to wait until November or December to see what the voters say. I think there is some understanding that they're willing to wait a short period of time to allow us to get through this process. The real estate contract says what it says. We don't have the ability to keep them under contract past July 1st right now. We'll try to extend that, but I don't have any reasonable belief that that extension would be more than for what is needed to get through the special election.
Thank you, and I will add, whether you agree with the process or not, the democratic process, how this transaction has gone down has been followed to the letter of the law. And by passing all the different ordinances, we have done everything we are legally obligated to do. By following the petition, that means you disagree with it. So that's okay, but what we are doing is legal, and that is how government operates on the local level. Anyone else?
Todd Burke, 1506 2nd Street. I have a few things to say. No surprise. First of all, if it was done at a special election, the settlement date would have to be postponed anyway. Settlement dates get postponed all the time, and there would be no harm in having the settlement date postponed because, first of all, Mr. Heinhold has very well and intelligently, in spite of some past comments from the floor, put in all kinds of contingencies in the sales agreement, which I have read, which means that if the bond isn't raised, we can walk away, no harm done, no cost, and that's fine. Settlements get postponed all the time. I think that the idea of having a special election in the middle of the summer is meant, in fact, to put some pressure and cost on those who are against the proposal of the bond. And I think that that's the only reason why it is that there would have to be any kind of cost and time involved for a special election. As far as notice goes, the attendance at this meeting is witness to the difference between the bare bones notice requirements and the bare bones following the law and what should be done for the residents of this small community. Now, there was one meeting that was well attended, And that meeting was well attended because someone went to the trouble of hand delivering notices to almost every household in the community. And it was also packed by Newton's Landing residents who'd had a meeting that morning to discuss packing the hall in favor of the bond. And I am so tired of having the tail wagging the dog. So this seller is not, first of all, the property is not for sale. There aren't other people bidding on it. The seller is not going to walk away from the deal anyway because he's making a killing. And there's no reason why it should not be postponed and preserve the costs until the general election. Also, in the statement attached, there is wording such that that it's imperative that we move quickly towards, but there's no citations of law or regulation or statute or factual citations. It's just a blanket statement that we have to move forward as fast as possible. I think that what we should do is have it on the general election in November and have monthly meetings to have the entire population invited with notice that should be proper under this unusual circumstance so we can intelligently discuss pros and cons about the entire proposal. That's the way that government that is transparent and democratic is really supposed to run. Don't pull any surprises on us, and don't try to misdirect with statements about that Burlington County may be doing this and the state of New Jersey may be doing that. We're not here to discuss any of that stuff. We're here to discuss what Delanco is doing. And a lot of us are opposed to this bond, as you already know, and most people obviously look at the room, have no idea of what is going on, and that's grossly unfair to them, and it's going to be more grossly unfair when they get their tax bills and see what the increase is really all about. If the bond is not passed, if the bond is passed and the property eventually is sold by the township to whomever, there's going to be engaged in construction. It's going to be construction of one sort or the other, and this construction is going to cause more havoc on the roadways for 6 years than this proposal by the seller is really talking about, which would, this guy knows what he's doing. Whether or not he actually puts a truck repair facility in there, he knows what he's doing. He knows what the costs are involved. He knows what the additional costs to the township are going to be in terms of remediation and to make sure that it's not a toxic waste dump and to go through all the due diligence stuff that we're doing now. So I don't see where anyone has provided an estimate for how all of that's going to have to be paid for, because I think you're looking at another $1 million or $2 million. That's what the seller was talking about, and that's going to have to be borne by the township, by the taxpayers also, to clean it up and to remediate and to make sure that there's no hazardous waste in there and to go through all the demolition and construction that would be necessary to remediate that. I don't see any reason to not delay until November. There really is no pressure, and there really is a lot of problem with people who are dissatisfied with not having this brought to their individual attention. Doing the bare bones is, well, I guess it's fine for routine stuff. Not for this project. I can't emphasize that enough. For this project, it is incumbent upon the committee to go out and make sure that all the residents have full notice about what is going on. That was only done once. It wasn't done by the committee, and that's really unfair.
Thank you. Your 5 minutes is up.
I'm not surprised.
I have a timer if you'd like to see it.
I would.
Where do I start with that response? The reason why this room was packed was because the information that was provided to the residents was incorrect. The formula and the financial information that was provided was incorrect. So that's why this room was packed in December, because they thought their tax bills were going up $2,000 by the formula that was provided. Second, bare bones is what's required by law. Whether you agree with that or not, bare bones. We don't have to go door to door and let people know what's going on. That's not how this works, okay? We notice, we post, we do what's needed regulatorily. That's all we have to do. We don't have to go door to door. Should I rent a plane and fly a plane so people know? You have a civic duty to do your responsibility and find out what's going on in town. Second, this is not an unusual circumstance. As I provided in my presentation 2 weeks ago, this has happened on several other occasions. And if you Google other towns that have done this, properties purchased all the time to stop things from being built, including warehouses. This is not unusual. Third, nothing has been designated as hazardous. There's no remediation necessary. As of today, there is no hazardous. We would never buy a property that has been designated with hazardous waste. That's all I'm going to comment on. Anybody else have anything else they want to say?
I think you covered most of mine. Both Mr. Burke and Ms. Holland, both. Sorry. I'll speak into the mic better. Both Mr. Burke and Ms. Holland both mentioned about remediation, and unless they've done their own phase 2 testing, I don't know where this is coming from, because there hasn't been the borings done yet until this week. The soil borings are being done this week, but everyone seems to think that remediation is done. So I don't know where you're getting your information from, but it's incorrect.
One other thing, taxes are not being increased due to the purchase of this property. Taxes are being increased because of the items that I mentioned in my presentation. The increase in costs, the decrease in revenue. Taxes are not going up because of this purchase. Anybody else? Any other comments from the public before I close session 1? Session 1 is closed. Moving on.
Mayor, if I could just make a couple comments.
Yes, you can,
Either at the
please.
time you get to the consent agenda or now. My job is to protect the process, right? The policy is what it is, and the governing body determines that policy, reacts to comment and so forth. There's been a lot of points in time that got us to this situation where we're now under contract. We have a good faith responsibility to execute under that contract. The due diligence is still moving forward. I understand the desire or the wish that maybe this could happen just as part of the general election. As a person who's involved in the process, I'm just going to say very clearly that's not an option. And it's not a matter of whether they have it marketed or they have another buyer on the line. They have rights. They have the ability to move forward with their development if they'd like to do that. They have actually agreed, I think, very conciliatorily to work with the township on a transaction if that's where this ends up. If it doesn't, I think what we're going to see is they're going to be back with their truck terminal facility, and that's what's going to happen there. So I don't think it's a choice for the governing body. The governing body has a good faith responsibility to move forward, and that requires a special election. The only other thing I will say is I hear this a lot, and we all have positions about what we think should happen. Civility is so important to try and move forward and respect that somebody may have a different understanding of where you are. There are people in this town who don't want to see this happen. There are people who don't think the bond should happen, all right? So they're both reasonable positions, right? The governing body has an obligation to execute under the law, all the notice steps, all the requirements. In addition to that, they do put out public information. I get emails, I'm on the email list for Delanco, I get emails from the township about all sorts of things. The idea that, it's not fair or there should have been more done, I think is a very unfair sort of allegation to put on any township. And I see this not just in Delanco, but in many places. That is a never-ending hill that nobody can ever satisfy. Sending out an employee to knock on every door, or having the governing body members who have full-time jobs and other things to do to go out and knock on every door, it's not a realistic circumstance. So respectfully, what needs to be done is the law needs to be followed to assert that it's not democratic or it's not fair when we're doing exactly what the law requires. I take issue with.
Thank you, Mr. Heinold. And I will make a note, too, that the law requires us to mail out mail-out ballots for the people that have opted to vote by mail 45 days in advance. And if we were to do that, say at the end of the month, they would get those mail-in ballots right before the primary election, which would cause confusion, which is why we've opted to mail them out right after the primary so that people were crystal clear as to when this election is being held and there's no confusion. So I just wanted to point that out, that we are cognizant of that, and we are trying to make it obviously the easiest process for voters, the most legal process for voters, and we are doing our due diligence there. And people can still register to vote by mail if they are not going to be available for the July election.
And it's not on the primary election, because that's a partisan election, and the members of the public, and I believe it's almost 40 to 50% of the town who have not declared a party, they wouldn't be able to vote on the referendum.
Right.
Yeah, I would just like to make a
And the mic
comment.
here.
Put that right up here.
That we, we did buy we did purchase another property in town. It didn't cost quite as much as this, but it was the Zerbrook Mansion. And I happened to be very involved in that transaction. And that was to stop the state from getting that property by a deed in lieu and putting a Capital Academy in that property. It was to rehabilitate juveniles. And so when the gentleman who owned that property was out of contract with the Capital Academy, our attorney, Doug, found out that it was definitely out of contract. We bid on the property the same amount that they were going to buy, which we bought. And we tried to do numerous things with it, and we were finally in a position where we had to sell it. And it was in a redevelopment zone, so we had an option to choose who would buy it, which that was a difficult decision being up on this committee at that time, because it was 3-2. They didn't, three members of the committee didn't want to sell it. And finally, one did go with us to sell it to Grapevine, which they did put the townhouses there, which happened to give the township a nice tax income. So the people who live there love it. The Zerbrook Mansion has been preserved and is a jewel in this town. And the residents get to see it at the Christmas time when we have our carriage rides there. It's open to the public. And it has been preserved, but yet we sold it so that we could still make money on it. So we didn't lose any money. And there are people that live there that love it. And I just think that when we did that, we did it for the betterment of this town. And that's why I believe we're doing what we're doing out on Creek Road. We're doing it for the betterment of the town and for our children who have our fields out there, for the residents at Newton's Landing, but also for the entire town. The entire town does not live on Delaware Avenue that benefited from us purchasing the mansion. But the entire town has benefited. We kept the portion of the property on the waterfront. Our waterfront park is being built. It's going to be gorgeous. Everybody's going to be able to enjoy it who will walk down there. This township committee, in my mind, I've been up here for quite a few years, we have taken consideration into everything that we do. And I can tell you that I vote for things for the betterment of this town. And buying this property is definitely for the betterment of this town. And as Carolyn had stated, there's no tax increase on our tax bill for the next year right now that has anything to do with this property. They're just expenses that have gone up in the town. The school is not having a tax increase. So that information was relayed to residents, and that's not happening. So I think the town is misinformed. And I think the people up here know what they're doing. They don't take it lightly. They research. And I mean, I may not be the one that handed out information, but my I am available to anyone in this town. My home phone number is listed, my address is listed, and I've been around here for a long time. So I think the consideration was a good consideration to purchase this property, and I stand by it.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Since we brought up the school, I'll take this opportunity to elaborate on that. Just find my documentation here. Give me 1 second. I attended the school board meeting last week. They presented their budget. The tax rate for fiscal year 2025, the school tax rate, was 1.8214. Their tax rate that they're proposing for this coming year is 1.8211. So it's gone down 0.0003 cents. That includes the money for the down payment for the roof. So the taxes are not going up for the school. The taxes have gone down. The difference is $21 million in ratables was added to their ratables base this year. So the additional building and warehousing that happened has finally hit their books. So they have been able to spread their tax levy, which they increased by the maximum of 2%, across a larger tax base. So our taxes are not going up because of the school. Just wanted to point that out. Okay, let's move on to comments and reports. Professionals, Mr. Heinhold, do you have anything else you'd like to add, sir?
Yeah, I just want to give an update again. I'm trying to do this every month so people are aware of the affordable housing situation in the township. We remain in a very good position because of prior round planning. We are carrying a surplus into the fourth round, and the primary mechanism to address fourth round is to extend controls using existing affordable housing trust funds, which were funded by development that occurred in the town, so it's not coming out of our general revenue source. You will see on the agenda a resolution that supports Abundant Life and Living Springs in their effort to get funding sources from above, which is beneficial to the township, so that's a supportive resolution. We'll probably have other resolutions for other entities in upcoming months that are similar to this. And in addition, we have to go through a formal process of adopting the fourth round housing element and affordable housing plan. That happens at the planning board level and then is endorsed by the governing body. That will happen at the board meeting in June, and then at our next meeting in June, we'll do the resolution to endorse. But overall, just again, we're in a very good position, but there's a number of procedural elements that the public will see on our agenda in the coming months. And that's all.
Thank you. Harry, would you like to give an engineering update with the microphone right up to your mouth?
Sure. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
I'll bring you up to date on a few of the projects that we're working on at the moment. The 2024 local aid grant road program, that is for Walnut Street from Burlington Avenue to Hickory, and then also Chestnut from Union to Spruce, and that little piece of Spruce coming up to Burlington Avenue. That has been advertised. We're going to be accepting bids on Tuesday, May 13th. If the bids come in acceptable, we can award that project on the meeting of May 19th. So that process is moving on. And that's all funded by DOT grant. There's no budget money for the construction of this project.
How do we make out with Chestnut Street? One way.
Yeah, we're looking at that. There is no issue with making it one way. The only question is which direction to make it. So we'll have a report on that, as well as some other streets in town that we're looking at possibly making one way or not.
Great.
I mean, wouldn't it be, because Chestnut Street also covers where the bank drive-in is? It's
We're
on
talking
Chestnut
about
Street?
just Chestnut
Just
Street
that one section?
From Walnut
Oh,
over.
okay.
from Walnut
To
around
7-Eleven.
Spruce.
Yeah, it would make sense to make the whole street one way, in my mind. I mean, I just think logically and common sense, but, and that's how I think it would flow better. to come out the side street by 7-Eleven.
Yeah, that's what they're trying to figure out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
The Zubro Park, Waterfront Park, the contractor has started construction out there. You've probably seen the safety fence and whatnot. Things are moving a little bit slow right now because they have to build steps for a certain section of the area. So that takes footings, they have to be inspected, then they have to form out the steps themselves and pour those. And that's what the process they're doing right now, installing those steps. As soon as they're done with those, they will be moving on to installing sidewalk in the various areas where we have it delineated on the plans. They will also be starting on the electric probably next week. That's going to be underground work. We're running electric, put in decorative lighting and some outlets out there at the new post gazebo.
Are they pouring this week at all?
They're supposed to be, yes. So it's weather,
Yeah.
it's weather permitting. Luckily, that soil out there is pretty good soil, so it does drain pretty well. And rain doesn't hurt us as bad, but it's weather dependent. The gazebo is scheduled to be delivered the week of the 19th, May 19th. So you'll see it being installed that week. It should be done by the end of that week as well, weather permitting. So you'll start to see some things pop up out there. The 2024 CDBG grant, that is a grant given out by, it's actually federal money. It's distributed by the county. And that is for replacing handicap ramps, handicap accessible ramps throughout the town. That has been awarded, and we're having a pre-construction meeting this Wednesday at 1 p.m. Once we have that pre-construction meeting, that's a process we have to go through because it's the county requires that as well as we do. We'll have a definite schedule of construction on that after the pre-construction meeting. But I would anticipate construction will start on those ramps within the next, definitely by this month, in this month. And that's all I have.
Okay, so the 2024 Township Road Program, I saw your engineer was out there surveying Delaware Avenue the other day. So we are planning to pave Delaware from Cedar to Hazel, and we are going to throw in that dirt road at the end too, right?
Yes.
Okay. I just didn't know if that actually had a name to it or if we had to add.
Delaware.
It's just Delaware
Yep.
from, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we are going to look to pave that as well. Just kind of makes sense at this point. And the 2025 CDBG grant, I know Janice has a meeting at the end of the week for that to see if we did get that grant too. So Harry is working on the Union Avenue boat ramp proposal. Do you think you'll have something to us for cost by the next meeting in June?
Absolutely.
Okay. And when are you doing your inspections at 401 this week, right?
Correct.
Perfect. Thank you. Anybody else have any questions for Harry?
Nope.
Township Administrator, Mr. Schwab.
I have nothing new right now.
Thank you. John, Public Works.
Good evening. We've been quite busy getting everything done. We picked up 60 yards of chipped up brush. We picked up 45 cubic yards of leaves, more leaves that people put out after we got done pick up. We got all township properties 4 times. We lined the ball fields 13 times and dragged the ball fields. We also lined the soccer fields last weekend too, so I guess the start of that. We put up 2 street signs. We ended up fixing the boat ramp at the end of Ash Street for the fire department and all, and that supposedly everything turned out good on that. We finally took down the batting cage. Well, it took us about 4 days to do it, and I don't know if anybody has seen it or not. There's a pad of asphalt there, and what has happened, there's a couple big tree roots that grew underneath of that. So if we go to put, another trailer on there that's gonna have to be taken out somehow, some way, so just so you know. But it's down and that's good. We mulched all up at the trail, the West Avenue, that's all done. Delran brought their tub grinder in and grounded up all our mulch, the wood chips, and we got plenty, well, we had plenty of mulch. And that's it.
How was your cleanup day?
That was pretty good. It was pretty good. We got like 136 tires.
Wow.
And it's, you know, the price of tires have gone up now, and so we're gonna have to really look into that next year, or this year, when we have our one in the fall, about, you know, the cost of the tires, because it's not fair to, you know,
Bless you.
Bless you.
pay for all them tires.
How much are they now, John?
Well, if it's a truck tire, it's $10, and I think the passenger cars are $5. So, and we took 136, so it's quite a bit of money,
Yeah.
which we took out of the clean community, so, you know, which is good.
Bless you.
And that's it.
Okay. And John is going to order 3 pet waste stations to be added throughout town, so we can try to help the dog owners conveniently pick up their dog waste a little more. That's a nice way to say it.
Yeah.
I have a question. When are we going to talk about the trash situation? The new trash?
The new contract?
Excuse me.
Well, it's out to bid, right?
Yeah, Janice will report on that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Anything else?
No,
Okay.
John, you'll be getting that one-way sign up over by the ice cream bar?
no, I got your message later on, and we'll get it up tomorrow.
All right, thank you.
Yeah. Now, you know what, actually saw a car come down from Buttonwood and go right down that street,
Yeah.
like nothing.
Yeah.
So, and you know, the other street there, Buttonwood, it's got all kinds of signs, but there definitely was a sign on the one side of our park there,
All
a
right.
one-way sign. We'll get it up.
And if you see a car do that again, as Chief likes to say, call it
They'll be
in.
gone.
Call the police.
They're gone.
Thank you, John. Chief Warren?
You could yell at him, John.
Good evening, everyone. Last month, I had an opportunity to go and meet Liberty Springs with their residents for about an hour. Had a good time. A little Q&A in reference to some of their concerns living there, excuse me, but also with awareness of cyber crimes and what they need to do and be aware of phone calls and things of that nature. But also, we just sat and had coffee and we talked, so it was pretty cool.
They
The o-
enjoyed your visit.
Yeah, there's
Yeah,
something
because I
else.
met with them at the end of the month,
Did you?
and I meet with them, and they were very pleased to meet you, and I think you took another officer with you.
No, it's just me.
Oh, well,
Yeah, they had me to themselves. Yeah.
but they were really pleased, and thank you for doing that.
Nah, not a problem. I enjoyed it. No, thank you. For the month of April, for our department, we finished with 25 police cases. There were 70 motor vehicle violations issued with 246 motor vehicle stops, and we had a total of 982 calls for service. Preparing now to get ready for traffic plans for the Memorial Day Parade, so I'll be getting on that this week. And that's it for now.
I've been seeing the officers do a lot more stationary posts on Burlington Avenue, and that was a couple of residents have mentioned that to me as well, and it's much appreciated to help try to curb the speeding.
Yeah, they asked for it, so they've been directed for more directed patrol. So specifically Burlington Avenue, near Edgewood and Cooper, as well as Walter Ave. We had a concern about that our last
Right.
meeting, so they increased that patrol as well.
Yeah,
So,
I've seen them there, and they picked up a lot of speeders.
so
Good.
they're writing tickets, so
Oh, we like it.
yeah, they're writing tickets.
We were out at the Riverline exercise on Saturday.
Yes.
And your officers did a nice job coordinating with all the other departments. I guess there was about, like 150 people out there? you think?
Probably. Rob, how many, did you keep a count of how many we had out there? It was de- yeah, it was definitely north of 100.
Yeah, it was at least 100
Between
people.
fire, EMS, OEM, PD, all the transit
Transit.
cops. We had a lot out there, and everyone did a great job working together.
They made it down? Okay.
We all made it down.
Yeah, we were all there watching.
I said transit made it. They made it.
Oh, yeah, they
Transit
made
made
it.
it. They were the
yeah.
first ones there.
Which was funny because they said transit's never going to be the first one here. So they were the first ones that responded, but,
Ever.
and we did talk to a bunch of the transit officers. I was out there with Officer Hollis, and he was telling me about his experience with transit, and transit had their official drone operator out there. Like literally, that's what his job is, to fly the drone for transit. Talked to him about his drone, got information. Riverside was out there with their drone, which is a pretty nice setup. They actually got it from money that was used from a seizure, I guess. And it cost them about 15 grand, but they had this nice big hard case and a big monitor, and it was a nice setup, so.
Amazing tool.
They were
Yeah.
able to zoom into
Center
William
City.
Pett's head on Center City. That's how,
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's good. It's,
from right above the
Yeah.
Riverside, the Delanco Riverside train bridge.
it's
So
an awesome tool.
Heat seeking, it
They're all
was
thermal imaging.
thermal imaging,
Yeah.
yeah, he showed us all
Yeah.
the stuff, so it was
Yeah.
cool to see all that technology and explain kind of what the drones do now that Delanco is gonna add that to our force as
why I
well. I
asked
think
for it.
it's important
That's why I
to
asked
have
for it.
that, especially with Hawk Island, so.
And so thank you for detailing your officers to that drill. And John, also thank you to your guys for taking care of getting everything set up for the road closures for that day.
Yeah, it was a great exercise. Okay, Mrs. Lure, department head for the township.
We had the,
Can you pull your mic down? Thanks.
we had the document shredding event this past Saturday, also available to residents, along with the Public Works cleanup day. So other than that, that's it. Thank you. Unless, Bev, do you have anything?
Just at the shredding event, there were 84 residents who were shredding.
What did we say Janice was gonna report on?
So that's residents, and we also combine that with documents that have been approved by the state of New Jersey that we no longer are required to keep. So those can go in also. Okay, that's it. Thank you. Oh, yeah. Yeah, we are out to bid for a new solid waste
That
collection
was what it was.
contract.
Okay, there, that.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So, there's also another meeting this week or next week, for pre-bid meeting for haulers that may choose to participate in the pre-bid conference, because it is quite extensive, that bidding process for solid waste collection. And those bids will be due and not till July, because this bidding process requires a 60-day notice and published 2 times over the 60 days in newspapers.
Great, thank you. I did just want to add, there was another little library box that was added over the weekend to Gateway Park from Tommy and his troop, what is that, Troop 82?
Troop 39 out of Mount
I was
Holly.
close. Okay.
I wish I would have known about
I didn't know.
Same.
the installations.
Yeah.
I would have liked to attend. I always like to, I'd like to attend the Boy Scouts or the Cub Scouts activities if I can, and they're usually, Eagle Scouts do a wonderful job, but
Yeah.
we weren't notified of this.
Yeah, I think he split it up into 2 different dates, and I'm not sure I got the second date, but we were driving by and we stopped real quick, so it looks nice. I think the concrete is curing right now, so yeah, it's a nice little addition, so hopefully they'll add that to the main website that tracks all of them, because I know residents were asking for a list of them. So thanks to Tommy and his troop. All right, moving on to the consent agenda. Consent agenda items are considered to be routine and will be enacted with a single motion. Any item requiring discussion will be removed from the consent agenda. All consent agenda items will be reflected in full in the minutes. Does anyone have anything they'd like to remove from the consent agenda? Okay. Ordinance 2025-5, amending the Township Code at Chapter 216 governing park and public property regulations. This is the first reading by title only and set public hearing date for May 19th, 2025 at 7 p.m. Ordinance 2025-6, a bond ordinance of the Township of Delanco in the County of Burlington, authorizing the purchase of vehicles and equipment for the Public Works and Police Departments, appropriating the total sum of $178,000 therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $169,100 in bonds or notes of the Township for financing such appropriations, and making certain determinations and covenants and authorizing certain related actions in connection with the foregoing. This is the first reading by title only and set public hearing date for May 19th, 2025 at 7 p.m. Resolution 2025-72, resolution of the Township of Delanco, County of Burlington, State of New Jersey, confirming the need for the acquisition and rehabilitation of 100 units of senior affordable housing and the submission of funding applications to the State of New Jersey Economic Development Authority and the State of New Jersey Housing and Mortgage Finance Agency. Resolution 2025-73, authorizing disposal of out-of-service police department equipment. Resolution 2025-74, authorizing award of contract for professional services to Triad Associates for affordable housing review and compliance assistance for Zerberg Mansion and General. Payment of bills, account, current fund, $1,282,969.18. Payroll, $132,495.35. Escrow trust, $3,895.25. Capital fund, $28.50. Clean Communities Fund, $533.56. Approval of business licenses, 2025-2, -4, -24, and 26. Approval of consent agenda. Can I get a motion, please?
And Mayor?
Yes.
On those business licenses, it's all those business licenses.
I'm sorry,
4
yes.
through 24.
2024-4 through 2025-24, and then 26.
Yes,
Thank you. Approval, please, motion.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Kate, second by Matt. Roll call, please.
Mr. Bartlett?
Yes.
Ms. Fitzpatrick?
Yes.
Mr. McFadden?
Yes.
Mr. Olet?
Yes.
Ms. Seuss?
Yes, thank you. Next on the agenda, we have the municipal clerk certification of the petition received on April 25th, 2025. That is NJSA 4049-27 et seq. Janice?
Thank you, Mayor. I'm just going to read my letter to the governing body, mayor and governing body as required under the statute, to the Delanco Township Committee, certification of petition. Honorable Mayor and members of the Township Committee of the Township of Delanco, a petition was submitted to the Delanco Township Municipal Clerk's Office on Monday, April 28th, 2025, at 10:45 a.m. to protest against the incurring of indebtedness under the recently adopted ordinance 2025-4 per NJSA 40:49-27. NJSA 40:49-27B, certification of petition, states that the municipal clerk shall examine the same and ascertain whether or not it is signed by the requisite number of qualified voters and also meets the provisions of NJSA 40:49-27A to 40:49-27C. An examination in accordance with all applicable statutes of the petition papers as submitted on April 28th, 2025 was conducted beginning on April 28th, 2025 and concluded on May 1st, 2025. It was found that the signatures of a sufficient number of qualified voters were present on the petition papers and that all other applicable statutory requirements for this petition were met. Therefore, I, Janice M. Lohr, Municipal Clerk of the Township of Delanco in the County of Burlington, State of New Jersey, hereby certify that the petition submitted to my office on April 28, 2025, protesting the incurring of indebtedness under adopted ordinance 2025-4 meets the requirements of NJSA 4049-27 et sec as per the examination conducted as required by law. Respectfully submitted, Janice M. Lohr, Municipal Clerk, Township of Delanco. Thank you.
Thank you, Janice. Moving on to Resolution 2025-75, resolution establishing ballot question, a special election date in response to petition for referendum on bond ordinance 2025-4, which authorized funding for acquisition of 401 Creek Road. Anybody want to make a motion, please?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Motion by Phil, second by Kate, to adopt Resolution 2025-75. Roll call, please.
Mr. Bartlett,
Yes.
Ms. Fitzpatrick.
Yes.
Mr. McFadden.
Yes.
Mr. Olet.
As much as I would like to see this go to the general election in November, but understanding some of the, I guess, other stipulations that are involved, and looking at the setting the date of July 29th of 2025 for the special election, I am going to vote yes, and thankful that the folks in town will have the opportunity to vote on this matter for the $3.6 million bond. Thank you.
And Ms. Seuss.
Yes, thank you. Any correspondence, Janice?
Yes, Mayor, I have one piece of correspondence that came in. You all did get copies. And it is from Samuel Hargrove regarding the parking issues up at River's Edge. Everyone did get that. I'm not going to read it in full. It's quite lengthy. Asking that the township get involved to help alleviate some of the parking stress at the River's Edge development. And that's all the correspondence that I have. Thank you.
Harry,
Yeah.
when River's Edge was built, did we petition the county or did they change their mind later on about parking on Burlington Avenue? Was that ever on the table in front of them?
Before my time when that was approved.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can address some of the issues at River's Edge. Actually, after the project was totally developed, the HOA reached out to us. And Dave Denton, I don't know if you were involved then, we walked the whole development out there. And we did a one-way in and out, which we actually were able to give them, I believe, 88 more parking spaces. The problem is they have driveways and garage, but when these developers do these properties now, by law, they only have to be a certain size, but most of the people don't park in their garage or even in their driveway. A lot of them don't park in the driveway, or they have more than one or two vehicles. And everybody knows in this state now, people have at least two vehicles, and some have more than that if they have children. But at that one time, we were able to give them 88 more parking places, but I don't know what recourse we have at this point, other than this parking on Burlington Avenue is really not going to eliminate the real problem that exists.
Yeah, we did, and actually that was through ERI. We actually did that ordinance and
Yeah.
Made the one-way streets. We even revised that again,
Yes.
add some more parking where we could. We have the maximum amount of parking allowed out there that we can do safely.
Yeah.
As far as the county right away, I'm sure that was part of the county approval, that parking out there. That was
Yeah.
typical for their approvals. And we have no jurisdiction over that. There's nothing we can do about that. It's county jurisdiction.
Yeah.
And I can add, that was based on the county engineers.
Yeah.
That's why there's no parking there in the front of the building. One of the other issues too, the head of the HOA, Amanda Tinsley, I'm in constant contact with her because we were advised by her once we completed the striping last year to again reinforce no parking. One of the things that was put in the letter was the questioning of the designation of the yellow lines as a no parking area, which universally, if it's yellow line on a sidewalk or a curb, you don't park there. But people tend to keep parking there. And I understand, as you know, Chief, that, yeah, it's difficult. One of my officers, he resides there. And 97.8% of the time, his wife brings him to work. So he doesn't lose his parking spot because it's just that bad. But we have no control over that. But we were specifically tasked and asked monthly, can you make sure the guys are enforcing no parking? So we do. So if they're parked, and what we did, I want to say 4 years ago, we changed through referendum, I believe, as resolution was done to make the no parking a ordinance violation as opposed to a Title 39 statute. Originally, it was a Title 39 statute. We switched it to an ordinance violation with a flat $50 fee. But we're being requested to enforce it, so we do. So, but I mean, we understand the issue, but we can't create more parking inside that development. It's obviously impossible. So.
Thank you. Okay. Meeting is now going to be open to the public for comments and questions. This is going to be session 2. Same rules apply. If you'd like to come up, please state your name and address for the record. Go ahead up, Mr. Kistler, you can come up. Did you want to say something, Tim? Yes. I'm not sure what you said.
Hi. Tim Kishler, 12 Howard Court. I have some prepared remarks, but I just wanted to say, based on things I've heard, I live in Newton's Landing. I don't know how the rest of the residents would appreciate being referred to as the tail that wags the dog, but I think they would like to be included and not excluded from those folks in the town. We pay taxes just like everybody else. The fact of the matter is we pay more taxes than most of the other people in the township of Delanco. I'm saddened but not surprised that a single Rose Township Committee member has once again corralled a significant number of otherwise disinterested, uninformed, and uninvolved Delanco residents to act in opposition to an initiative that would benefit our community as a whole. One can safely assume that those who signed this petition were moved to do so as a result of receiving the same kind of biased, incomplete, and incorrect information that prompted them to attend one single township meeting back in December. They likely did not see, hear, or read the excellent presentation given by Mayor Suze, which detailed the many reasons for and benefits of the township purchasing the property at 401 Creek Road. And they were also probably not made aware of the fact that a special election in and of itself will cost almost $100,000, which is not budgeted for and will necessarily create an immediate need to increase the taxes in Delanco. I will personally be voting in favor of the township purchase of the property at 401 Creek Road when the special election is held, and I will encourage as many other residents as I can to vote for the approval of this initiative as well. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Kishler. Anyone else? I will close this session to the public. Moving on to discussion items. We have our NJDOT fiscal year 2026 state aid program. The grant submission deadline is July 1st. You want to talk about that, Mr. Fox?
Sure. The state offers several grants that are all due on July 1st. Typically, the local aid grant is what we always apply for, and that's early in my report. I put it on Walnut and Chestnut Street. That's with those funds. So we definitely want to go for that grant. There's bicycle route grants. There's safe streets to transits. There's Transit Village, which we don't qualify for. The only thing, we really don't have an area for a bike trail. They're looking for an actual trail, not just lining streets. So I don't really see any good application for that to apply for. The Safe Streets to Transit, there's not a whole lot we can do with that. We applied for that probably 5 or 6 years in a row a few years ago and never received that grant. There's just not enough traffic the only thing we really have is the train station, and there's not enough walking traffic to get there, other than the county road, and that's their responsibility. So really the only grant that's really worth going for is the local aid grant. We'd be glad to prepare any other grants that you might want to do, but it would be my recommendation. It's almost a waste of money.
Yeah.
So we just move on to the next portion of our road program plan, our 5-year plan.
Yeah, and we'll look at it to try and get more creative, because what gives us the more points to receive the grants, one of the major thing is if it's a roadway, the traffic volume. So we can pick a highly used road, that helps. If it's going to a school, that helps. If it's in really bad condition, they look at that as well. And safety issues. If there's any safety issues, I'll be contacting the chief on his opinion, whether there's any areas, whether it could be pedestrian, vehicle, any safety issues that we can look at. They really love to fund those type things. So we'll look at it first, give our recommendations, and generally we meet with the subcommittee, Richard and John, and we'll make a recommendation on what to apply for.
Now, the bike trail, is that something that would be like on a roadway, or is that something like in the woods in a park bike trail?
They really like the ones that are separate from roadways.
Okay.
Second to that would be one that is on a roadway but separated by a physical barrier.
Got it.
Thirdly would be a bike trail on a roadway. And when you get down to that third level, it's very difficult to get the grant. And we really don't have a lot of roads that we can put bike trails. It would be a shared use, which is essentially just putting up signs.
Yeah. And the county's already doing a feasibility study to do their bike trail through town, so,
Correct.
yeah. Okay, so I would just suggest to the committee that we move forward with our usual plan of and just meet with the subcommittee and figure out which streets would qualify. Anybody have anything else they'd like to add on that?
Just that we did it when we applied for the one to transit. We actually, it seemed to me that we actually had a good reason to, because the sidewalk was so tore up from Burlington Avenue down to transit. And as Harry said, we applied for it at least 4 or 5 times that I remember. So we finally did that repair ourselves. We did get a partial grant, I believe.
It was
The
CDBG
county,
money.
the county helped us a bit, and we finally did repair all that sidewalk. So, so that finally did get done, but not by that grant. But it should have qualified, because it was a mess,
Agree.
and it was not safe at all. But anyway, at least we got it done. But that grant is very difficult.
It's very difficult, yes.
But thank you,
Very
Harry.
competitive.
Yeah.
Thank you, Harry. Thanks, Kate.
So, Harry, when do you think we should look to have that resolution on the May 21st, or can we wait till the June 2nd meeting for that resolution?
I would recommend June 2nd, because I'll be attending as well, so.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, thank you.
So we should meet before then?
Yeah.
Okay. Just not the 10th or the 15th? Okay. Proposed resolution to authorize acceptance of credit card payments by the municipality in accord with state regulations. Okay, so speaking with some of our office staff, they had expressed interest in talking about accepting credit cards again, that it's something the residents have, been frustrated with, that we only take cash or check and nobody really carries cash or checks anymore. So we got a proposal to accept the credit cards for several different aspects of daily business from Clover, which is one of the biggest national processors. So I believe the proposal is to acquire 2 different machines here. They would be in person accepting credit cards for permits, for dog and cat license fees, for marriage licenses, and other things. Would not be for taxes, because you can pay that online using your credit card if you want. There would be software within the terminal to separate what goes to what. So on the back end, we would know how much money is coming in for dogs and licenses. So that would all be separated on the back end. So the processing fees would be passed on to the users. So I believe it's 2.916%, and then I think 15 cents on top of that. But the consumer surcharge would be a flat 3% to use our credit card, and then debit cards are 1.5% plus 25 cents. So the township would only have to have an impact of acquiring the units, and then I think there's like a monthly service fee, right? You have a contract in front of you. There's just a monthly usage fee. So, I know Doug, you had prepared a resolution on that, right?
Yep, there's a resolution that would authorize acceptance.
Okay,
I did have
thanks.
some highlighted points. I think your comment answers that. It's just for construction permits, zoning permits, affordable housing fees, dog and cat licensing, marriage licenses, and rental registrations.
Yep, that covers everything, right? Bev, Janice? I
No.
think that was all the,
Can we add, and any other
Can we have some more?
permit or fee processing in the municipal clerk's office?
We can.
Wait,
Yeah, I mean, there's a whole host of
Yeah.
things. I mean, to list, it would be exhaustive to
Yeah.
list that. So can we just have a catch-all phrase, Doug?
Yes.
Thank you.
thank you.
what are you saying, Beth?
I was asking, because definitely we have firearms is weekly, daily, and open requests, like it would benefit us as well.
Yeah, so will we be
Yeah.
able to capture the police charges as well, right?
Yeah, so it'll just say as well as general fees related to all their municipal departments.
Okay.
So that'll be the catch-all language,
Thank you.
and I have seen that elsewhere, so I'm comfortable with that.
Okay.
Okay, so what, anybody have anything they want to ask
Yeah,
about this?
The courts, one of the questions was to list municipal court. I didn't get a chance to check with Jen. She is already on credit card,
Yeah.
and it's probably regulated by the AOC rather than us. So Doug, does that court language need to be in there?
Are you asking that they want to be included or no?
They already are.
Yeah.
They already have their
So
own.
I thought the comment before was we're not going to include court fees, we're not going to include tax
Okay.
bills.
Right.
All right.
So if you look at the third whereas, where it ends at rental registrations now, it's going to add as well as general fees related to all their municipal departments. And then in the section below, we'll repeat that language again under number 1, under the now therefore be it resolved section, under number 1, we'll repeat that language. And Richard just pointed out that it's not always the tax collector's office collecting fees, so it's, instead of saying the township does hereby authorize the tax collector's office, it's going to say that the township to accept credit card.
Okay.
Actually, it shouldn't be the tax collector's office at all, because they collect
Right.
through their own system.
Anybody else have any comments
No, I think it's good that we're doing this finally.
Yeah, me
to
too.
get up to
10
speed?
10 years ago,
with
when I was
2025?
flipping some houses and in here all the time, pulling construction permits, this would have been handy, but glad it's
Yep.
finally on the horizon.
Okay, so would this be something we can bring up tonight as a resolution? 2025-76, I believe?
I mean, if Doug feels that it's ready to adopt, we can assign a resolution number.
Yeah, I mean, I'm comfortable with the resolution with the revisions we just made to it.
Okay, so can I get a motion, would be Resolution 2025-76, to adopt the authorization for accepting credit card payments by the municipality in accord with state regulations and as drafted, and the necessary changes that were discussed.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, motion by Fern, second by Matt. Roll call, please.
Mr. Bartlett?
Yes.
Mrs. Patrick?
Yes.
Mr. McFadden?
Yes.
Mr. Olet?
Yes.
Ms. Seuss?
Yes, thank you. Great. So, Janice, you'll have the office move forward with whatever we need to do next. And I did speak with Julie about it, so she is aware, so I just let her know as a heads up, so. Shh, are you all right? You're dying.
Yeah, I'm dying over here.
Drink some of your Coke there.
Mayor,
Yes?
I'd like to have 2 minutes, please.
Can we go to the next item first?
Sure.
Okay.
I realized we had
The discussion with Julie was that I let her know that this was going on in case she needed to do anything with compliance on her, and so she is aware of it. and she can capture the necessary revenue as necessary. Okay, next item, and then Fern, I'll let you have your moment there. Municipal Park Development Program, the grant submission. So I think I mentioned to you guys that Burlington County approved $5.5 million for municipal park grants again. It's the first time they've done it since 2020. So where is that in my packet here?
That was actually,
on
that
the-
was.
Yeah. It was
on the pile of
added
stuff,
today.
yeah.
It's in the other one here,
So
okay.
it's loose on the dais.
Thanks, got it.
It's in
Okay.
packets. There you go.
Too many papers. Okay, so the park development grant is due by June 27th, $5 million for all 40 municipalities. I had requested to Scott Taylor if it was feasible to do a playground at the Babe Ruth complex. I thought it made sense to put a playground in the center of town since we kind of have an absence of playgrounds. They're kind of at the end of town. Instead of putting the playground, which we had plans for already at Field of Dreams, that we could go for this playground addition at the Babe Ruth complex. So he agreed that something would be feasible there, and I had several discussion items with recreation members, and I talked to Kate as the liaison, and they all agreed it would be a good spot for it. So I asked Scott to put together a proposal for his cost to design, sent him some ideas for playground equipment, and then his cost to submit the grant proposal to the county by the end of June, which is usually around like $2,500 last time it was. So he's going to get that over to us. So I just wanted to let the committee know this was happening, and if you guys want to discuss it all or any feedback or comments, please feel free to do so.
It seems like a good location, you know, now that we think about it, we have the park up at, playground up at West Avenue, and,
Pennington.
And Pennington.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be nice to have a place for the kids to go, center of town. Kids could use the school playgrounds when schools aren't open, but, you know, parents who are out and about, who may not be, you know, school age as of yet,
Yeah.
you know, they wouldn't be able to use school parks. It'd be nice to have something right in the center of town.
Yeah, and then you have the basketball courts there and then the baseball field. So if, you
Yeah.
know, the younger kids are there watching their older brothers or sisters play, they could hang out there. And maybe kids won't hang out on the basketball courts, right? They can hang out on the playground equipment. And I thought it was nice that it's central right on Coopertown Road there. So it'll be, you know, viewed by the police and by the public all the time. So maybe it'll deter some crime and stuff. So he's gonna move forward with that as long as we're all okay with that. And it's up to $250,000 is what the maximum is.
Yeah.
Looking at what they've done in previous years, they awarded $5.3 million to 38 municipalities back in 2020. So you figure that probably we won't get the full 250. So I just said, you know, don't build something up to that amount. Maybe 200 is the max. And there is no local match required either.
That's going to be my next question.
Yeah, we did apply for every year when they had this grant, and we got $250,000 every time except once, if you remember, Phil.
Nice.
And that was when we were asking for lights for the Field of Dreams. But yeah, most of our fields out at the Field of Dreams and the Zerbrook property that was original down there came from the county grants. So I think it's an excellent idea, and we definitely need a park in that area. It would be really good for the youth in this section of town.
And you have a good established system of crosswalks over there that could
Yeah.
bring people there. You got that new path that we just put in that goes out to the baseball
Right.
field. You got the new
That's done
parking
already.
area there.
The bathroom will be enclosed, so you'll have a bathroom
Yeah.
there. And Scott said, you know, having the train station right there is good for scoring points on the application as well, because it's near a transit facility. So we have that on our side too.
Yeah,
So, yeah, it's try to spruce that park up a little bit, so.
that's a great
That's
idea.
nice.
Any feedback, Phil, from Recreation?
Nope.
They're on board?
They're on board.
Okay. Anyone else about the application? So we'll just, do we need to make a motion to ask Scott to send the proposal, and how do you want to handle that, Richard?
If you want, you can authorize up to $2,500 for his services. He should put it together, give it to you, and at the June meeting, you'll have to authorize submission.
Well, I don't want to say 2,500 because he has to design it
Right.
too, so.
So why don't we wait to get his proposal
Okay.
on the 19th?
Okay.
You can approve his proposal, and then he'll have it ready in time for you to authorize it at the June meeting.
Sounds like a
And
plan.
we're going to do pretty much the same playground that we were going to do at Field of Dreams? The
It's a
same-
little bigger.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a little bigger. Okay. All right, anybody else have any comments on that?
Good idea.
Thank you. Fern, floor is yours.
Thank you for your patience.
Of course.
The $3.6 million bond, many of us who are of senior age and qualify for the 50% kickback, or I shouldn't say kickback, but refund on our property taxes, we have a life preserver that got sent to us this year and made available to us. There are many folks within the community that don't have that lifeline. You know, for us to be able to get up to $6,500 back on our property tax, you know, is a gift. But for many folks that are in town who are struggling to pay their mortgages, their taxes, put groceries on the table, take care of their children, you know, fuel prices go up. You know, you talk about PSE&G, cost of living's going up, and my way of thinking is we, the seniors who have this life preserve, have very little skin in the game. The folks that are paying the full amount have a lot of skin in the game, and they're the ones who are maybe struggling. So to have this go to referendum and have the entire town be able to vote on this, in my mind and in my heart, is the right thing to do. So thank you.
Just have one question, Fern. Why did you vote for it then?
I'm sorry?
Why did you vote yes to sign the contract to?
Sir, I won't go into that, but thank you
Well, I
for
think it's a
asking.
fair question.
It is a fair question, because at the time, in going into the agreement, I thought it was a done deal. There was nowhere else to go with this. And then when the bond issue came up, the 3.6 and the opportunity to have the entire town vote on this, again, I felt, again, in my heart and in my mind, that was the way to go. To have that much money being spent and taking out of people's pockets, to me, is the right thing to do.
Okay, thank you. So
Thank you.
we basically we agree to buy the property, but we don't want to pay for it. It's the American way.
And Fern, just so you know, you're saying seniors. I'm a resident of Delanco. I'm a taxpayer.
Correct.
I live paycheck to paycheck. But I also see the benefit of moving forward with this as we were moving, rather than putting more extension and funding on top of what this project should have been. So, just so you're aware, it's not just seniors.
No, we the seniors received that life preserver, that lifeline that got sent out to us. You know, to be able to get a credit or money back on your taxes up to $6,500, that's a gift. You know, I pay
I don't consider it a gift. I think the state actually owes you that. That's why
Can't wait
they're
to be a
giving it
senior.
to you. It's not but it's not a gift. I mean,
You're
the
almost there,
state of
Phil.
New Jersey overtaxes the residents, believe me. And the municipalities are mandated to do so many things through the state, and they don't support what we have to do. They do not finance a lot of the mandates. And so what they're giving the seniors is certainly due the seniors because of the overtaxing. But it is a benefit to the seniors, absolutely. But not everybody receives $6,500.
no, up to the $6,500.
Right, so,
50%
but I understand what Phil's also saying, but I don't see anybody realizing that we're not gonna owe this debt forever. We didn't owe the mansion debt forever. We paid it off. We sold the property. We're not gonna owe, we're not going to wind up paying $3.6 million. We're going to bond and we're going to do something with the property that is useful to the town. And then we're going to pay the debt off. So it's not going to cost the town $3.6 million. You have to have a vision, and you have to see what is good for Delanco. And the mansion was definitely good for Delanco, what we did there. I think it's a wonderful choice. And the people that live there in the affordable housing apartments love it, and the people that live on the sides with the townhouses love living there. And we got a great waterfront park. So that was a vision that I had. We did it, and the people didn't wind up paying 1.2 or 2 point whatever million dollars in their tax bills because we turned it over. And that's what we hope to do with this property. It's not something we're going to sit on, but we're going to put it to a good use that will benefit the town.
Right, like why wouldn't we want a better rateable there? Like we're literally collecting $23,000 a year in revenue. Why wouldn't we want something better to go there? The truck repair facility is only going to generate a few $1,000s more. Why wouldn't we buy it, control what happens to it, rezone it, maybe, put something like restricted housing there one day, and then bring in $100,000 or so more in revenue. And maybe if we sell it for more money, you make money on the back end, and what does that do? It goes into your surplus and then lowers taxes. So I don't know. I just think like people are just seeing this 3.6 and just saying, people can't afford it, people can't afford it. Well, as I stated 2 weeks ago, our tax increase is not going up because of this property this year. Next year, we have more capital hitting, so our taxes are going to be affected more, but we can also extend that out more than the 5 years that we have in our capital plan, so the hit isn't as big. Next year, we only have the minimum payment due of the interest, which is for 3 years. So it's not this big hit on the taxes. I just think people just don't understand this, even though I really made it crystal clear, I thought, in my presentation, that the $104 tax increase is not due to this purchase this year. And, we have a vision for this, even though, I don't have a crystal ball, but I do have, honestly, there's no reward if there's no risk if there's no reward. You have to take a risk to have a reward. And that's what we're doing here, but our risk is very protected by the fact that it's appraised at $1.8 million over what we're purchasing it for. And you really can't lose there because that's a huge amount of money.
It's almost like we would want the residents to want us to do what they elected us to do, serve the town.
Right. And if we had to go out to referendum every time we had made a decision on something large and risky, we would never get anything done. That's why this government is set up the way it is. And the people on Delaware Avenue directly benefited from the purchase of the mansion 20 years ago. And I saw that a lot of people that signed that petition lived on Delaware Avenue.
Yeah.
I mean, we have a $178,000 bond on the agenda tonight for Public Works and police equipment. Should we put that out to referendum and public vote? Sorry, Chief, sorry, John. But, where's the cutoff of what we're changing our government to a direct representative as opposed to an elected representative government? Where's the cutoff?
Well, the legislature
and I understand it gives
in there, and therefore, the petition was filed, and the voters in town will have their opportunity.
That they will.
All right, thank you.
Anybody else have anything else they want to add?
I'm not for animal cruelty. I think we beat the dead horse on that one already.
Yeah, yep, okay. Resolution for executive session not needed. Motion to adjourn, please.
So moved.
Second.
Matt and Fern. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Of course.
Lights went out.
Thank you.